Please state the nature of the communications emergency.
I updated the Phoenix prize pack.
Starting emergency stream. Hey everybody! Welcome to another issue. Yeah, you can read us now. You can get us on magazine stands. Welcome to another episode of 10 Forward Weekly. My name is Mike Fadum. I am your community manager, also known as Ambassador Kel, and I'm joined by apparently Jesse Hynek.
Jesse Hynek, yeah.
I knew I missed something. Hold on. You're senior now, right?
Close enough. Yeah, I am senior.
Okay. I mean, I know you're a senior citizen, but
I'll be playing the role of Jesse today.
Quick, say something self-deprecating.
I wouldn't know how to begin. I don't have enough brains to think up something like that.
All right. I'm joined today by senior system designer Jeremy Randall. Say hello to people, Jeremy.
I'm not Jesse. Hi.
Nope, not at all. All right. Apparently, I'm hard to hear, so I'm turning myself. That's not me. That's you. I'm gonna turn myself up a bit. Let me know if that's any better, folks.
I'm here.
All right. I'm glad you're here. So glad to have you here. Before we dive into the reasons that we're here today, which is to talk about the changes to the Phoenix Prize Pack, and the whys and wherefores and everything that entails. This
is also y'all's opportunity to ask any questions that the blog might have risen.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to do some fan art. But first, I have to pull up an email because I forgot. Look, I'm doing a lot, okay? I gotta pack up my whole house.
Well, this is... I'll fill the space a little bit. If y'all haven't already had an opportunity to read over the dev blog that came out this morning, right? This morning?
Yeah.
That details the intended changes that will be coming live tomorrow to the Phoenix Prize Pack. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you want to go and kind of cover the bases for yourself.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah, go ahead and we'll wait. We won't wait.
No, not at all.
Really.
All right, so here, our first picture is from ID Gaming Federation, who also sent us this description of the character. Let's see. Zoe Elizabeth Lily Bell, or Zoe Bell. Zoe grew up in a mostly normal Trill home. Her father, Rangan, was a dedicated guardian, albeit a dead-end job due to exposure to a virus when Zoe was just a youngling. When during a meteor shower, I just should have read this in advance, a small chunk that had not completely burned up upon entry struck Rangan in the eye and caused an infection that left him blind. The Trill Symbiosis Commission deemed the infection's antibodies would have made it possible for Rangan to ever be joined. That is terrible luck. My God.
A meteor in the eye?
Yeah.
That's astronomical, you might say.
Zoe excelled in subjects that many on Trill Prime would deem questionable at best. At the tender age of 24, with a few scrapes here and there with the authorities, Zoe was accepted as a host for a symbiont whose last host was a friend of Zoe's father, but had become bravely ill, and it just happened that Zoe had passed all of her symbiosis tests and was next on the list to become joined. The Bell symbiote...
She got her father's?
No, she got her father's friend's symbiote.
Oh, okay.
The Bell symbiont was a bit of a rash and outward-thinking entity. Many of the former hosts of Bell sought out ways to expand the pool of viable hosts in the Trill population and didn't fully trust the notion that only a scant fraction of the Trill populace could be joined. Some question had been brought up as to if the last host before Zoe had been handled by the Trill Symbiosis Institute for getting too close to the truth. Okay, so the illness for the previous symbiote was possibly a conspiracy, while others aren't as quick to believe their government would propagate on such a grand scale a lie to their people. Upon joining, Zoe... Sorry, go ahead.
Trill Section 31.
Trill Section 31. Upon joining, Zoe Bell became increasingly more skeptical of the TSI and TSC's true nature and had an eerie feeling as if someone was always following her, sometimes, just catching a glimpse of a shadowy figure out of the corner of her eye, only to one day try and follow the figure around a corner, only to find a dead end. In her third year of being joined to the Bell symbiont, the most strange thing happened. Sure that she was being followed by and watched by someone, the TSC or TSI, a guardian, she wasn't sure, but somebody was watching her. It was the little things, a face in the crowd that seemed to always be around. The smell of something sweet but vegetable, earthy, and medicine like that would accompany this shadowy figure. One day, after a better part of a year of planning, Zoe was able to catch up with this figure, but upon doing so was whisked away from her home in the Northern District, finding herself aboard a starship, crewed by a group that claimed to have been part of a covert ops unit outfit called Section 31, outside of Starfleet, beyond the United Federation of Planets. The shadowy
right.
Yeah, you did. You're right on the money. The shadowy figure introduced himself as Captain Jax. He was kind of dashing in his tight-fitting black jacket. Zoe Bell could tell this one was going to be a handful, but more so that she knew him, or more Raz Bell did. The former host of Bell, Raz had been working alongside Captain Jax, investigating claims of corruption inside the deepest levels. Section 31 is investigating claims of corruption? I thought they just sort of made corruption. It's both the TSI and
They
TSC.
protect the Federation.
Right, yeah. Raz Bell was their guy on the ground, like a hunting dog set out to flush out the hunter's game from the tall grass. Captain Jax went on to explain that right before Rax Bell's accident, I guess that's the previous host still, Raz Bell, sorry, they had taken a memory-blocking agent in case Bell's next host was someone the TSC and TSI had a sway over. Furthermore, Captain Jax stated that he had to be sure Zoe Bell wasn't in the pockets of the two ruling bodies before revealing their past to the new host. Captain Jax handed Zoe Bell a small clamshell case. In it was a compression pistol, a black badge, and a hypospray vial with Theta Sigma embossed on it. Theta Sigma was Raz Bell's codename in Section 31, a little-known, rarely talked about part of the United Federations of Planets Charter. Section 31 made Makos look like children playing war with clumps of thermally void flakes of water. That is an excellent sentence, ID Gaming. Zoe Bell picked up the ampule, and inspected it for a moment, holding it up to the light and rolling around between their index and thumb, looking at Captain Jackson, stating, "I'm assuming this will corroborate all you just told me about Raz Bell and his mission, right?" Captain Jax gave a knowing smile and winked. It was the only way he could ensure Ball's next host wasn't under the control of the Commission. Zoe Bell felt a twinge of understanding and calmness wash over her, as if Bell was saying, "It's all right, Jax can be trusted." And with that, Zoe Bell loaded the ampule into a hyperspray and with a shaky hand touched it to the side of her neck and depressed the actuator and felt a rush as the memory block lifted, and a wave of memories came flooding back to her, and a new feeling, something that even Ball wasn't sure of. But it was too late. Nanoscopic probes flooded her system and started taking control of her every bodily system. Redacted. Wow, that was a twist at the end there. Control was all in caps. I don't know if you can figure that out.
I don't get it. Can you explain?
All right.
And that's it for us today, guys.
Yep, bye.
Thanks for coming.
Meanwhile, Jeff W. sent us this Photoshop project he did to make his TOS uniform look like the Strange New Worlds uniform. Nice job. And Stu1701 sent us this lovely birthday card that Pundus and somebody else, I forgot who, ADHD Brain, Food Cube made for him, which I think looks great. Well done, everyone. All right, let's start on the important stuff. I'm still shrouded in shadows here. I tried to fix it. Only a couple more days, folks, and then I will have an actual place set up for me to stream.
And maybe a non-glitchy webcam too.
Maybe that. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah.
Where do we want to start?
Yeah, I guess let's start with the basics. We knew the Phoenix box needed changing. What first brought you to the conclusion that that was the case?
Players told me. No. So, as anyone that's come to the stream a few times in the past, this is a common subject. It gets talked about a lot, about like, when are you going to update the Phoenix box? They used to update pretty frequently, and then obviously with the introduction of MUDs, we had less of an obvious route to get things into the Phoenix box. And so the conversation had to get revisited. We had to make new agreements basically with how we wanted to run the project, how the product needed support in terms of like monetization and itemization and all that sort of things, and what that meant for the Phoenix box. And frankly, those conversations stalled for on and off for what is probably years. I think I remember the last update that we did to the Phoenix before this might have been 2019 or 2020. It's been literally years.
Yeah.
Since we were able to add anything. But I never really wanted to let that topic die. Neither did a few other folks on the team. So it just took us some time. I know it'll look like dragging feet, but really it comes down to the needs of the business. And unfortunately, that doesn't always translate into exactly what you guys as players need or feel like you want. But we always wanted to do this. We wanted to get the Phoenix updated again, and so we figured out plans to do so. And this is what I'm hoping the first of more regular updates. The current plan, I don't want to call this a promise, but the current plan is to do this about every 6 months. We're hoping to find a new suite of items from anywhere in the game, no longer just constrained to former event rewards, but anything that we feel would fit well in the Phoenix box. If it's weird where it currently is, or if it's old and we want to refocus it, or do all sorts of different reasons go into adding things to the Phoenix box now. And yeah, we want to keep doing it from now on. You'll notice that some of the items that we added this time around, like I just said, are not from former events. Some of them are former microtransactions. Some of them, I think a couple of them actually started as convention giveaways. The EMH BOF, I think, started as that, and I think Hololita as well. Yeah. So it's kind of opening some doors to us to alternative items that already exist in the game. We are not likely, it's not completely off the table, we are not likely to create new items for the Phoenix pack. That's never been the design of the feature. Doesn't mean we can't, but we're not currently looking down that path just yet.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to now that's the putting more items in the box, but in the same breath, we also updated quite a few other things about the box. Let's start with the different tiers, then why they were changed and what your thought process was.
So the removal of tier 5. Tier 5?
Yeah.
Ultra rare. The tier 5 ships. I think it was actually tier 4 in the store, which is extra confusion. This is motivated by a few things. In the blog, we talked about how there's a misconception that putting tier 5 ships, which are not entirely end game viable, in such a high profile prize position is a little disingenuous, and we didn't want to do that anymore. So that was part of the motivation. Another is that we had gotten in the habit, and we wanted to continue reinforcing this precedent, that when a new T6 version of a tier 5 ship comes out, that the tier 5 gets retired. And this is, honestly, some of this is for business purposes. Like, yes, obviously, we want to be able to monetize some of these tier 6 ships, so we'd like you to be motivated to get them. That's part of the argument, but it's also a matter of player confusion potentially. Like, if somebody tells you, "Oh, go get the Ferengi Decora," you might end up buying the tier 5 ship on accident or obtaining it, just as an example. And we'd rather, where we can, where business needs line up with what we think is in the player's best interest, we're going to grab those opportunities. And this feels like an opportunity where it did. I know some players probably won't agree with that, but that's kind of where we're at. So for every ship except one, which is the Voth Bulwark was the one. Every one of the other tier 5 ships that was in the Phoenix box, it has already been translated into a tier 6. So we think you should get that. And yes, that does potentially mean some more money for us if you do. Sorry, we do have to make money. So some of those decisions get motivated by actually wanting to keep a roof over our heads. But at the same time, like, the old tier 5 ships don't offer you anything that the tier 6 doesn't. So it's kind of a no-brainer in that regard, in terms of design.
Yeah.
So
just a quick caveat and add on to something Jeremy just said. Just before that gets translated into, Cryptic only cares about money, and we're drowning in dollar bills over here. The STO has been doing STO has been doing exceptionally well the last couple of years. Some of the best stuff we've ever done.
We've been public about talking about it.
Yeah, but we've been doing that because of the decisions that have been made in monetizing the game. I think that's pretty clear. And while I've lost my train of thought. That's a terrible place to lose your train of thought, because I'm just trying to assure people.
If I can interject, because it's not just monetization.
Yeah.
Like, this is also increased player retention and player engagement.
Yeah.
Which obviously translates to more money spent by you guys, but it's not a one-for-one. You wouldn't be playing the game if it wasn't fun, I hope. So.
Yeah, and so the point I was trying to make is, while that's been happening and that's been amazing, it hasn't been so... There's this idea that, us at Cryptic are sitting on this gigantic pile of money and lounging with our cigars that we light with $100 bills. And yes, we do charge a lot for certain things, and yes, we do have other things hidden behind mechanics, not hidden behind, but within mechanics that cost a lot of money to obtain, like lockbox ships. But it's not something that we're doing because we have money and we want more money. It's something that we're doing because that's what it costs to keep this game up and running 11 years later. And we don't want people who don't spend to not be able to play the game. A lot of people have been saying things like, so like, when a new ship comes out and it's inside a mud bundle or inside a lockbox, there's always a lot of hand wringing about how like Cryptic is forcing people to spend money. But as unfair as it sounds, you don't need that new ship to play the game. There's nothing in our game that's so difficult that you need to buy a super powerful ship. And we don't really make super powerful ships either. So that's kind of the answer to that. I just wanted to hit that off at the pass. I hope I did a good job explaining that and didn't ramble too much.
Well, without going into too many details, there's also some company-wide things that have had a big impact on our project behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure nobody here is a completely foreign to the idea that Cryptic had a title canceled last year, and that has caused some decisions to have to be made, and not all of them are great. But the fact that STO has been doing so well for years now is one of the reasons why it didn't cause the studio to shut down.
Yep.
There's a good amount of like, again, I don't want to go too deeply into the details, but some level of earnings is risk assessment and risk aversion. Like,
Chuck
every
is
dollar
asking if this is Gearbox directives. No, Gearbox is very happy that they have us and that we're making money. But originally these directives were these directives are always coming from Cryptic because Cryptic controls whether we make money, and we like to make money because we need to pay our staff and things of that nature.
Also, I mean, just could kind of segue back onto the topic of the Phoenix box. The Phoenix prize pack makes us no money. I know that people have these ideas that we profit somehow off the Zen exchange, and maybe slightly, but the higher the exchange rate goes, I think that translates into like fewer. Yeah, no, I remember now. If we sit too far at the cap when we have seen this on Neverwinter, that has a negative impact. If we just looked at the revenue impact that a bad lithium economy could have on STO in the long run, it's bad for us. It's bad for our bottom line.
Yeah.
There's no reason for us to want to continue to push the exchange cap up or to keep it at 500 like it currently is. It's in our best interest to push it down. That just happens to coincide with your best interest as players.
Yeah.
Like the value for your Zen.
One of the things that we pride ourselves on is the fact that there is a path to get everything in this game without spending a dime, and we want to make sure that you still have that path. And if the Lithium Exchange is unreasonably broken, we can't do that. So we have been spending a lot of time working on fixing it. And poor Jeremy, in between making ships, has been. You've seen the steam coming off of his head as he crunches these numbers. I wanted to quickly answer a question from chat because I've seen it go by a couple of times, and I want to make sure people know. If an item is moving from MUDs to the Phoenix box, it will only be in the Phoenix box, and it will be a character unlock from now on. But if you previously bought it from MUDs, it is still an account unlock for you, and you could still reclaim it whenever.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think that's also true of a couple other things that are. I think the holographic EMH may have been in the same situation, but not MUDs, just a C Store purchase. Sorry, Zen Store purchase.
Zen Store, I mean, it was C Store for
so
long after it stopped being C points.
Yeah.
Cool. I saw another question that I wanted to answer really quick. Somebody asked what the problem with the Lithium Exchange is. Right. So the Lithium Exchange, in case you don't know, is a thing you can use in game. Players can offer to spend Zen to buy Dilithium, and you can offer to spend Dilithium to buy Zen. It's one of the good ways to play the game and get Zen to purchase things if you want to.
But right now it's capped out at the highest it can be, which is 500 Dilithium for one Zen.
Right, and if we let it go higher than that, it would just rage out of control.
Yeah. And what that means is that there is not enough demand for dilithium. Speaking economically, the principles of supply and demand. There's too much supply of dilithium to offset the demand for
Yeah.
for Zen.
Right
I think
now,
I said
very
that
few
right.
people would spend Zen to get dilithium because they probably already have a lot of it.
Right.
So there we
And
go.
it's because it's capped and people are trying to trade things on an exchange. It can take days, sometimes in the double digits of days, for the transactions to actually process and go through and get you what you want. Whereas if we're not at the cap, and you can dictate your prices and things like that, the transactions go much swifter. So it's not only a better user experience, but you also, depending on which side of the transaction you're on, are getting better value.
Yeah.
Um, so
Fragrance-free Vaseline has no dilithium, but that's because he spent all of it betting on whale probes. There's nothing I can do about that.
I'll take that bet.
Okay, uh, so let's keep going down the changes on this. So we
Hmm.
we talked about the different tiers, and so now
Right.
removing the tier 5 ships
Hmm.
means that there was nothing in that tier, so we condensed all of the tiers up one, basically.
Correct. And that means a translation of the tokens, which is going to happen automatically on the back end via magic code. Um, and there's a special conversion in here where ultra rare tokens, because the ultra rare tier essentially didn't exist. One of those is actually going to become 3 instead of or become 2 instead of like becoming an epic. And that's because the lower tiers are getting pushed up one. So it's kind of like you took your ultra rare and turned it into a blue, and then we converted up. So the down conversion to 2 of the next lower tier, and then we pushed it up. Um, that's why it's the oddball in the conversion. Green will no longer exist, but that also means all of the prizes that were at green become blue, blue becomes purple, purple ultra, and ultra goes away. It's gone forever.
And then
I
epic
did
is
see
still
a
epic.
question I can answer real quickly is, are we keeping the downgrade of like an epic to 2 ultra rare? Yes, all those are still in place.
And Bruce Carroll has
Um,
asked a bunch of times. The Phoenix prize pack will be the same price in dilithium as it always was.
yes, we have not changed the the price of the pack, nor the fact that you can buy 10 for a discount.
Yeah.
That's staying in place. Regarding the conversion downward, it's no secret. I don't want to make it seem like we're hiding the fact that this does mean that an epic token becomes fewer upgrades because there are fewer tiers. This is actually on purpose. I understand that might seem a little unfriendly. So it used to be, as of today, 1 epic token if you wanted to spend it on upgrades, which, okay, I question that a little bit, but okay, would become 16 upgrades because of the 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. But as of tomorrow, 1 epic token will only become 8 because there's 1 fewer step of conversion. That actually helped us to not have to nerf the upgrade as much, which I think we're going to be talking about soon.
Yeah.
Is that we did take a bit of a bat to the upgrades that you'll be able to buy in the future, but this change helped us soften that blow. Helped us not have to go as far as we otherwise could have.
Just to answer a question that's come up in chat a bunch, because I think people may have misheard me a few minutes ago. There are some items that are moving from Muds to Phoenix, but we're not moving all the items from Muds to Phoenix.
Right, a selection of
A
them.
selection of them, and that so some more might come over or go back the other way. Yeah, folks, I know my camera is broken. A few weeks ago, it got leaked on when my shower destroyed my living room. That's the new house. Let's see. There was another thing that I wanted to ask, and okay, so in another addition with the new shortening of tiers and the new way we reworked the box is that it means that it's actually a higher chance of getting better tokens or better rewards for opening the box. Now I know we can't go into exact numbers,
Right.
but can you talk a little bit about how that works and why people are getting higher rewards?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that this is a company-wide, like business-wide. We need everybody to agree on the same page before we publicly talk about odds, and we just currently don't have a consensus, so we still have to say no. But in broad strokes, so we got rid of ultra rare, but let's imagine that just got deleted. So whatever the odds were for ultra rare, just throw them out the window. Every tier below that is getting moved up. So purple becomes ultra rare. What we've done to make sure that the odds are increasing is we actually took the old odds of the purple tier and made sure that the new odds of the ultra rare tier are higher than they used to be. So I saw like there was a thread on the STL subreddit talking about, well, if they did this wrong, that actually means a reduction in your chances of getting certain prizes. I just want to clarify as much as I can without actually being able to talk about the actual odds, that I took as much pains as I could to be diligent and make sure that every tier, except the lowest, obviously, that the odds are going up. And that basically comes from a reevaluation of the approximate price points that we're aiming for in terms of the lithium spent, exchange rates, energy credit economy. There's a lot that goes into it. But at some degree, it boils back down to approximate dollar value. And I have to, for the sake of the product, make sure that everybody that controls the flow of dollars through STO has signed off on the changes. But a reevaluation of that did allow us to increase the odds. So at every single tier, odds have increased. It's not always going to be enormous, but I guarantee that I'm not misleading you. With the exception of the blue tier, because obviously those odds have to come from somewhere. So the old chances of getting a green are now the new chances of getting a blue, and they've been reduced. You'll get other prizes at a higher rate.
Yeah. But just to clarify that again, while we can't talk about it, the chances of getting an epic token have gone up, not by a whole lot, but they have gone up.
Yeah.
Okay, and we just want to be totally clear about that. We're not trying to hide that for you guys. Like, they still have to be. It still has to be harder to get epic tokens in order to get you to spend lithium in order to get the Lithium Exchange down.
Yeah. Some of this, it reminds me that I kind of wanted to take
really
the
quick,
opportunity
before you go, I just want to...
Okay.
I've gotten a ton of people in chat who are saying, add this, add this, add this, add this, add this, and just giving me huge lists of items. We're not going to talk about what other items might come into the Phoenix box today. We can't talk about that kind of stuff because it's upcoming, because decisions might not have been made, because stuff Jeremy might want to put in the box might not be able to go in the box for either monetary business reasons or technical reasons. So just please... stop with asking for the Tommy gun and other things. We cannot talk about that today. We cannot talk about that today.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, what were you saying?
Well, I kind of wanted to sidetrack a little bit, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about the design philosophy behind the Phoenix Prize Pack, because I don't know that it is... Actually, I know for certain that it is not currently serving the purpose that it was originally designed to serve. And that's not saying that it's failing or it's bad or it needs to be completely redesigned or anything like that. It's just a matter of... There's always a degree of this as a game designer that once you put out a feature, once you publish it and it's out there in the world and your players are playing with it, it's not really yours anymore. You have to see if players are playing with it the way that you wanted them to. And if they're not, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a failure. It just means you need to reinterpret and see if there's a way that you need to adapt. And some of the main ways that I think it's important to kind of remember here is that Phoenix Prize Packs were never intended to be the way you got these items. The way you got the items that were originally in the Phoenix Prize Pack was by playing the events associated with them. The Phoenix Prize Pack's purpose was a dilithium sink, was a reason for players who were not engaged at the time with our primary dilithium sink, which was fleet systems, so casual players without a good social construct, was to give them something that they could buy, one, maybe two per play sessions and feel like they were just had something fun to spend their dilithium on that might actually get them something worthwhile. And at the time, that was one of the reasons that the Phoenix upgrade was made so efficient. Because even if you didn't want anything from those prizes because, I don't know, you played all the events or something like that, there was still always the upgrade as an option. And it was good. And it was always intended to be good and the best upgrade in the game. But also remember that the Phoenix Prize Pack originally was an event. And it only came out for about 4 or 5 days, once every 3 to 4 months. And it was pretty impossible for the casual players, not the super earners, to buy more than a handful of upgrades during a weekend when it was live. Maybe a couple dozen, possibly 100 or so, but by no means the by no means at its introduction was it the only way of getting upgrades, which it kind of has evolved into over time. And one of the biggest things that did that is when we decided, as an attempt to help us control the dilithium economy, we turned it on permanently, which had some positive effects, but in the long run, it's caused the idea of upgrades. The upgrade system in STO is no longer getting upgrades from R&D or from drops or even from the exchange. It's either getting ultimates from prizes or getting Phoenix upgrades. And that is the entire system nowadays. And that's not what it was intended to be, and that's not the purpose that the Phoenix prize pack was intended to serve when it was first initially released. So we have a lot of adaptation that these changes are meant to kind of not actually achieve 100%, but more pave the way for, which kind of segues into maybe we should talk about the upgrades.
Which we should probably talk about now then, since we segued into that. Just
Yeah.
briefly, I want to respond to something because Jennifer Mason over on Facebook, which you can't see because there's only one chat you read, says that was saying that the Phoenix upgrades weren't breaking the game. Only the Dill Exchange capping broke the game, which is those two things are intrinsically related
Right.
and not necessarily one or the other, right?
Mm-hmm. So over time, as I kind of mentioned during that last little side rant, it used to be that our fleet system was our primary dilithium sink, and it was kind of effective. We didn't have as much dilithium coming into the game at the time, so it did a pretty good job of offsetting it for most players. Over time, we realized that not all players were engaging with it as an actual sink. Like a lot of players might engage with the fleet system, but they weren't necessarily contributing to projects and such. So they weren't part of that economic sink of dilithium. And the longer that that the fleet system was around, and the more people came to learn that they can rely on the big spenders, and if you have a whale in your fleet, then you don't got to do anything, and you can just live off of them. That meant that economically speaking, a lot of stagnant dilithium just began building up in the economy. There weren't enough things for them to do with it, and this was what the dilithium, the Phoenix prize pack was meant to help address. This also came around not too long after the upgrade system was introduced, and we found that upgrades started becoming our new primary dilithium sink. It actually pretty quickly supplanted them, even with the introduction of new holdings over time. Over time, the upgrade sink, the amount of dilithium that upgrades have removed from our economy has remained very stable over time since its introduction with Delta Rising, up until we introduced the Phoenix prize pack. Then we saw a pretty marked decline and a new stability point reached until we released Phoenix permanently. And then we saw that other economy of actually spending dilithium directly under upgrades drop again precipitously to a point where it's almost a non-factor. And this is what I was talking about, like the Phoenix prize pack has become the upgrade economy right now. And so some of the changes we're making, we're trying to use these changes to pave the way to bring back that other economy and to make other options viable again. This is not the end solution. This is a step on the path of what we're hoping we can do.
Cool.
Sorry, did I answer the question, or did I just ramble?
I think you did. I think you answered the question. I was just going to see, there's a lot of people are throwing in suggestions about, well, why don't you put stuff in the Lithium Store? Why don't you have secret vendors? I thought that was a kind of a cool idea. But anything that, as we have discussed before on the show, and as we learned when we did the Vanity Shields, which are coming back tomorrow on PC, by the way. The spoilers. We did the Vanity Shields. One-off things that you purchase once aren't a good dilithium sink because it just
Right.
like the numbers go. The thing that you
like the dilithium Vanity Shields, the last time we ran the promo, sank literal billions. I think hundreds of billions of dilithium left our economy. But that is our player base as a whole earns that much dilithium in a much shorter amount of time than you might imagine.
Y'all are all Jeff Bezos for dilithium. All right. Well, we have a chart here that I know you wanted to look at, and it's probably looking at my email now. Just a moment.
Yeah. So to preface this, while Mike gets it loaded, this is a little handy dandy spreadsheet that I threw together to kind of walk y'all through some of the behind the scenes math on Phoenix upgrades. Make sure it's loading because my stream is delayed, but I only see a black screen.
Yeah, you should only see a black screen.
Oh, okay.
I must have closed the window that I thought I was keeping open specifically for the stream.
So while he works on that, let me give you a little more of a preface. This isn't meant to show you exactly why we're making the changes. That's more of the far-reaching economic chatter, and it's a very multi-point conversation. I don't know if I can actually discuss all of it, but what I did want to show you is a comparison between the old approximate efficiency of a Phoenix upgrade, which some of y'all out there might have already crunched these numbers. You understand this, compared to what it will be after the reduction that's taking place tomorrow.
Okay, now we are looking at it on the screen.
Okay, great.
Bruce Carroll, I get it. It's May the 4th. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, but you have posted May the 4th be with you and my name maybe 500 times in the last 10 minutes. Please stop. Your other Facebook people must be super annoyed.
So what we're looking at is a kind of dirty chart. I know I threw this together just this afternoon. I apologize, it's not to scale, but this will be able to show you the final outcomes of, I think that if I highlight stuff, people will see it on the stream. Yep. Down here is really the important end number, which is how many tech points are you buying per point of dilithium? And what does that efficiency work out to compared to a superior tech upgrade? I've included enhanced in here also because, well, frankly, I think it's kind of garbage and I want to improve it. So exposure. So what I'm going to do here is walk you through a couple examples. I happen to pick up through the STO Reddit and show you what we're looking at in terms of what it used to be and what it will be.
Here are the
numbers that are in here. Yeah, the examples are down here at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'll take example 2 because it's got an ultra rare token just to show you how some of this works.
So these examples that you pulled from Reddit are posts that were like, I opened 300 Phoenix boxes and this is what I got, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take those numbers and plug them straight into here, place values. So what this chart will now show you, it auto calculates all this, is so this is a total of 300 boxes here. It worked on my side.
That's weird. Let me hit refresh and see what happens. There we go. Now it worked. Okay. That's weird.
So a total of 300 boxes. Cost per box was 4K, probably because they bought them in lots of 10. You're not going to spend full price if you're buying 300 of these things. And then the number of upgrades that were received. It just happens to be that this example data got you exactly the equivalent of 500 upgrades. So it's just magic. So that works out to dilithium per upgrade cost of only 2,400. And for a cost of 2,400, the tech points you got from the old Phoenix was 51,200. So that works out to 21 tech points, 21 and a third tech points per dilithium, which is almost 80% more efficient than a superior tech upgrade.
The numbers you're seeing on the right, guys, don't pay attention to those. Those aren't part of it.
The updated values aren't final just yet. I'm going to show you that actually just now.
Yeah.
So if I take those same values and translate them, so if you see me farting around with the token translator down here.
Yeah.
So that same token selection, let's say you got all of those today and you didn't buy any upgrades and you want to wait until tomorrow. This is what you'll get tomorrow. And if I take those same values and paste them up into this other chart,
okay, it worked this
time. We can see that is saying that it's 301 boxes. I'm going to leave that number because it's auto-calculated, but it's close enough. 500 upgrades still because of the conversion change. The main thing that this has changed on the updated values is the number of tech points you get. And this is showing the new efficiency values. With the lowered tech points of 38.4, you still have a more than 33% efficiency gain using a Phoenix upgrade over a superior upgrade. Superior upgrades are the next best in the game. So this is something I said in the blog, and I wanted to make sure that people kind of had an understanding of some of the math behind the scenes. That while we are reducing their effectiveness, we're not removing their place on the throne. The lithium, or I mean, Phoenix Chance Box upgrades are retaining their place as being the best upgrades in the game by actually a pretty good margin. So while they are being reduced, and if you don't want to have the reduction, you're welcome to go spend all your tokens today before they get changed tomorrow. It's still what we need to do. And again, keep in mind some of the things I was saying earlier, that in order to have a healthy game-wide economy of what the upgrade system is, this was a problem. This was an outlier that was very difficult to work with. And this is going to make it a little easier to work with. This means that in the long run, we may be able to make more meaningful and impactful and choices that are felt more by you guys, the player, towards making different upgrades available different places, making R&D feel better, making loot in general feel like a better experience in STO. Not just rewards from things like TFOs and missions, but also just like the stuff you get in the world. If you've been reverse engineering any of that so that you get crafting materials, if crafting upgrades is better, then maybe that feels better. It all is one big entity, one big body. And all these things are just organs that are connected to one another, and changing one thing is it always has an impact on other things. So this is something that we had targeted as a first step towards hopefully being able to do other improvements to other parts of the games. And I know it's not always obvious how these things interact with one another, but it's definitely felt at an economic level.
Yeah. There was a comment in chat that this wasn't an outlier. We just needed to improve the rewards in the Phoenix boxes. Again, that goes back to what we were talking about before, where one-off purchases, even things that are in the epic category, don't make that big of a difference in the lithium. The thing that the Phoenix boxes did that made them a lithium sink was the upgrades. People would buy a lot of Phoenix boxes to get at the upgrades. And the upgrades are what a true lithium sink should be. They are a repeatable, purchasable thing that you will want to buy over and over again.
And that line that you just said is exactly why we're not trying to drive them into the floor.
Yeah.
We need them to retain their place as being desirable, being exciting to get, and something that you're actually might go out of your way to obtain. But at the same time, we have to balance that need against other economic concerns. So that's where the downgrade comes from.
Yeah.
I don't think that I mentioned here, so just to clarify, in case you didn't read the dev blog, if you buy upgrades today, or if you already have them in your inventory from previous, we're not changing those. So if you're insistent on getting your full efficiency from these things, you feel free to go buy as many as you can right now. Those will be changed into what we're going to call classic, and they will keep their previous tech values, but they'll be no longer available in the future starting tomorrow.
Yeah. Trakev wants to know if we've done any modeling on the impact on the Lithium Exchange every time we introduced a fleet holding. Now, before you answer that, a little bit of a caveat. Fleet holdings are probably not something that's within the scope of the team size we have right now. It requires to make a new one. Yeah, it requires it requires an amount of extra team members, both in environment and systems and content that we don't have, because they're all working to the bone, making new content and ships and items for you. Not working to the bone, but working a reasonable amount.
I will say, we have this conversation on a fairly regular basis, because honestly, there's some of us on the team that love fleet holdings, not just for the economic value, but the engagement.
Yeah, they're really fun.
And having a new progression thing for people to work on together. It's broadly speaking, I mean, they've got their pitfalls, but it's broadly a good design, I think, for our game. So trying to do another one is something we talked about. I think the last time that Al and I sat down and kind of looked it over, it was just kind of armchair math, but I think it would have required us to do no new content for 2 entire seasons.
Jeez. That's worse than I thought.
So no new missions, no new TFOs, no revamps even, no tutorial updates, no anything like that. And probably cut back on our ship releases as well, and possibly event rewards as well. Like that's the level of investment that's required in order to do a fleet holding according to our old templates of what we used to try to include in a fleet holding. I will say also, though, just a little bit of spoilers, that conversation led into another about, well, maybe should we think about doing fleet holdings differently and see if there's something else that we can do smarter or better or more streamlined or just different in the future that doesn't have that kind of a cost. That is not a conversation that came away with any sort of conclusions, but it
This
started.
is just me thinking out loud because it popped into my head, but I wonder if you could do, and I'm sure you've already thought of this, something more like a reputation with fleet projects where it's just the vendors and store parts of it.
With no no environment, for
no
example.
environment, nothing to run
Yeah.
around, but you just unlock, cooler stuff for your fleet if you spend the lithium.
Yeah, those are some of the angles that we had discussed. Nothing's in plans at the moment, but those are the kinds of things that if you see anything like a fleet holding in the future, it's more likely to be, we'll call it streamlined.
Yeah.
Just to be friendly about it.
Sci-Fi Metal Girl says, and I assume this is said in this tone, so I'm going to repeat this tone, but you can tell me if it's not in this tone. Or hire more people, maybe? Which would be great. I would love to do that. We don't have the headcount for that because, as Jeremy may have mentioned, Cryptic canceled a project
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, Cryptic canceled a project last year, and the company is doing fine, but we're certainly not.
We have some openings.
We have
nothing
we might be expanding on some new projects soon, but it's unlikely. STO is in a good place for what it is, and it's unlikely that there will be a ton of investment to try and turn it into something it's not. I can see your cat moving around in the fuzzed out background. That's hilarious. It's just it just looks kind of like a. My brain has been forgetting words today. What are the rock monster things that are sentient? Horda. It looks like a Horda back there.
Not far off from the truth.
Yeah. Treycav wants to know whether the existing team is large enough to effectively sustain and develop the game for the future. Yes.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for several years now. Just
it also
not
means
to add a whole bunch of new things. Like if somebody says, a couple people have said, well, why don't you add a player housing system? Well, then I imagine if a fleet holding is no new story updates for 2 full seasons, a full player housing system would be no new story updates or ships for like 5 of them.
Yeah, and it all comes down to what can we afford to not do at this point, because a lot of what STO has been doing has proven to work, and it's a dangerous prospect right now to tip that boat to rock it. Not only because of what happened last year with Magic, but also, like many of you probably know, we were recently acquired by another company. We're now part of the Gearbox family. And
sorry, really quick. Brad Singer Carter, no, STO has not been canceled. The game Magic Legends last year was canceled after coming out in alpha. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, please continue.
I was almost done. It was just, they acquired us for what we are, not to change us. And so the folks that would be in part of the decision making on Gearbox aren't trying to rock the boat themselves. They want us to keep doing what we do. So at least for the short term, it's in everybody's best interest to just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll see if that means different things in the future, but nobody can read the future.
Yeah. All right. Have we covered everything that was in the blog at this point? Is there any other points that we need to go over? We've been talking for a while, and I want to open it for questions, but if I've missed something...
Yeah, there was another minor point in that you can no longer repurchase another box using 10 of what used to be green tokens, which would be blue tokens now. And the main reason for that was also that it factored into the math in terms of the dilithium cost per upgrade. Like the chart that I showed you guys on this screen doesn't actually go into some of the details that used to be here with the rebuy and everything, and it was a minor impact, but it was enough that I had to pay attention, and it kept, like, I think I even wrote in the blog, like every time I factored that in, it made my brow furrow. So I also looked at some usage stats, like whether people were using it or not. I think we're better off without it, honestly. It allowed me to not have to nerf the upgrade as much and make the math a little more straightforward, and it didn't look like we were losing anything anyway.
Yeah.
So, out. I think the only other thing is that a few other items have shifted around, and that was mainly to consolidate prize types. Like, I think my intention was, and I think it's true now, is that all the buffs are in the same level, all the duty officers are in the same tier, those sorts of things. You won't find things like all the weapons in the same tiers because we understand that some are better than others or some are more desirable than others for certain play styles. And so those are still disparate, and maybe they'll shift around in the future depending on how people react to them. But those are purposefully split up.
Yeah. Jester Smith had an interesting idea that I'm just passing on to you because I think it's interesting, although I think the amount of dill things would have to cost would be fairly astronomical, but the idea of being able to upgrade your Phoenix tokens at the cost of dill, I imagine if you were going to go from a green token to an epic token, that the amount of dill you would have to spend would be fairly insane, but it might be an interesting idea for a sync anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of wish I had the math still in front of me, but it was ugly and it was terrible, and the part of me that still plays STO felt terrible about the idea of it, because in order to remember, part of the cost analysis of what it takes to obtain an epic ship, for example, is something that has a business expectation, a expectation that I don't make, that people who run the project are making those expectations. And I can't stray too far from that, and straying from it.
Just to be clear, before people turn that into there's an evil empire that's running the game and forcing poor Jeremy to make these decisions. Their expectations and decisions are right for the game. There would not be an STO without those decisions. Please continue.
It's what allows folks like me to keep doing this for a living. So where was I? So in order to maintain those approximate cost values and equivalences with the option of upgrading your tokens, it was either going to be something ridiculous like 200 tokens per tier to make the next one, or it was going to skew the odds such that you had over 98% chance of getting the lowest tier every single time you opened one. It was gross. It was really bad, and I don't want to go that route. So please don't ask for it.
Got it. All right. Okay, it seems like we have covered the entirety of the blog now at this point. So, folks, we're opening up to questions. Now, remember, first of all, unless there are no good questions about the Phoenix blog, I'm probably not going to take questions about anything else today. And questions of
which items
what items can be added, why we didn't do this item you really wanted to be in the Phoenix box. Those aren't questions that we're going to be answering today for a various number of reasons that I mentioned earlier.
Actually, would you mind if I made one exception to that?
Yeah.
If there's an item that a player here knows about that is not available anywhere, and is not a recently discontinued item, like if something recently appeared in an event, honestly, I think that you guys are smart enough to know that that's likely to go to the Muds market in the near future. So not those. But if something's old and was from an old promo and it's not in Muds market or on the C-Store or something like that, if it's not available anywhere at all in the game, I'm kind of curious to hear about those, because Phoenix might be a place to resurrect them. It's in the name, right?
Yeah. Zachary Scott Rollins, I'm just going to take this one, says, why does it feel like every new update that isn't content-based is designed to discourage any free-to-play players? It's because of a psychological phenomenon that comes from being on the internet and dealing with a lot of negativity that comes around certain things. So when you see something in a blog, and we tried our best to make it not as bad as seeming as it could be, but when you see something in a blog like Phoenix tokens are going to be less effective, your first thought is, this is horrible, this is going to ruin everything because it's not as good as it was before. Now, the actual math, as Jeremy showed you, that's not that doom and gloom at all. But our initial human reaction, mine too, is, oh god, this is awful, they're ruining the game. And so the important thing to do, and I actually want to say how proud I am of the community for the maturity that they've handled this announcement today, because it's overall been really, really well. Nobody's threatened our lives.
The day is young.
But although someone did just say hashtag eat Jeremy, so maybe you did get a death threat. I don't know. I forgot, lost on Eat Jeremy. I was saying something important and exciting. When you have those initial reactions, it's important to engage with them and figure out why you're having those reactions. And you might be, it is because the tokens are going to be, the upgrades are going to be less effective, but it could also be because you're having a terrible day or something else is going on in your life as well. I'm not to say your reactions aren't legitimate or valid. I'm just saying there's other things that could be contributing to them as well. And then if you go
Mhm.
to somewhere like the subreddit or the forums, and there's a whole bunch of other people who are also upset, it's very easy to latch on to the first thing you read and
Mhm.
say, like, you're
Just
right,
dive
Cryptic
head
is
first
killing the
into the
game.
into
Uh,
the echo chamber and
yeah, and then
let
it
it take
just your
over.
brain seizes on that because it doesn't want to examine where those feelings might be coming from. This is actually how a lot of the rage YouTube creators who are constantly making, the Alex Kurtzman is getting fired tomorrow videos,
Mhm.
are make all of their money because somebody gets upset about, like, okay, the Klingons look different. That's not what I remember Klingons looking like. I am now upset because it's different. And
Mhm.
instead of engaging with that reaction, they log onto YouTube, and YouTube immediately shows them a video of the Klingons look different, and it's because these creators don't care about you as a human being and probably want you to die.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that sticks in your brain, and it fires up the rage machine. So,
Let me and to address the same thing from a slightly different perspective. I mean, the question that was raised was, doesn't this make it harder for newer players as like a barrier for entry to use the Phoenix box to get old prizes or to upgrade, whichever you want to use as your primary angle here? Yes, but it's not because we're trying to screw over new players. It's because we need to make changes to the economy, and unfortunately, if they're not economically powerful enough to offset those changes, it's up to them to decide at that point if these changes are enough to make them stop playing, or if they feel like they want to work harder, or just accept that their spending power has been slightly reduced in this regard. It's not something that we can look at those players and try to make specific allowances for when you're talking about something that is a game-wide economy. Everything that we're doing, like, I know it's a little callous to say, but I'm not looking at individual players when I look at this. I'm not looking at sample sizes of buying 5 boxes or 10 boxes. I'm looking at players that are spending literal billions on this and seeing what their experience is like. Or not even from an individual player's perspective, but I'm looking at the top 200 spenders and seeing what their economy looks like. This is devoid of people, and we really are talking about numbers. And I realize that's a little, again, callous, but when you're talking about economies, you can't really afford to hyper focus on the individual's experience.
yeah.
And so when we make decisions that are based on those game wide things, we then, well, at least I tend to come back as a second pass and say, well, how will the player respond to this, and is there anything that we can do to message it clearer, to make sure that they understand why their ability to their spending power is being impacted, or understand why their sacrifice, I guess you might call it, is for the good of other people or for the game as a whole. All of those sorts of things, and that comes down to communication most of the time, because we can't change our decisions most of the time based on those individual experiences. But it does paint it in a way that allows us to hopefully make dev blogs that you can understand, and that you can actually get some insight. It's why I took the time here to make this little Excel spreadsheet that we showed you earlier to kind of explain the change in more detail. Because I can't change the economy and the impact, but I can hopefully make you on an individual basis as a player feel a little better about the fact that we're doing this for a good reason. At least reasons that we're pretty sure are good. Like, we're still designers, we're humans. We might be making mistakes on occasion, but these ones I'm pretty confident about.
Quick question that I've seen come up a few times. Are there any new Vanity Shields joining the Vanity Shield promotion tomorrow?
Not this time around, no.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to add a pink Vanity
Also,
Shield to the list I'm sending you then.
thanks. But also to add to the questions that I'm sure will be asked, we currently still have no immediate plans to run the Vanity Shield on console. It is a topic that I've been discussing with Jared, our lead producer, to see what we need to do, if we just want to run it with the current prices, or if we can take time to reevaluate all that. Just nothing. Season 26 is coming down the pipeline, like our next big season update, and a lot of people are very busy with it. So some of these decisions have to be wait for another day, and we'll have that conversation later.
Matt Johnson, why don't you make Zen or Zen Store items giftable? I don't know. We've done similar things before, but I think it's a programming question. And so it may just be something that we haven't quite figured out how to do yet.
Some of it's back end related, like the
Yeah.
fact that you can play through Steam or through Epic and things like that. There's
Cthulhu
Yeah.
wants to know, is the spreadsheet uploaded for them to play with? Not this version, because this is on our internal servers. I don't know if there's a way you could put that up so people could look at it, Jeremy. But and put in their
I
own
make no
numbers.
promises, but I watch my Twitter. I guess I'll see if I can get it imported into Google Sheets and make it public, because it's currently on SharePoint, Microsoft. So I'll see. Yeah, my Twitter would be the place where I'd post it if I can get it up.
Cool.
And that's well, what is my Twitter? Is it at Bordicus Cryptic?
Yes, it is. Bordicus
Yeah.
_ cryptic, I think.
So
Queer
that's me.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just find it there if it's going to exist. Otherwise, I will post an apology later that I couldn't get it to work.
Queer Tribble, the folks, the Jem'Hadar players who got broken by applying the upgrade that then borked their reputations. One of our programmers, Keith, is working hard on getting that fixed for you guys. We'll hopefully have an update soon. Let's see. I don't think we did go over the experimental upgrade changes and the tokens and the changes there, Jeremy. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
What experiment? Oh, the Starship upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are still going to only be available during the event. The prices are highly modified, and this is mainly due to the change in odds. And I'm going to be honest that I couldn't find a good way to reconcile the old odds for X token versus the new odds for X token in terms of pricing. So the old prices, I think it's just best to try to mind wipe yourself of what you used to spend on these. So it used to be that you could buy 2 experimental upgrades for 1 ultra rare token. So taking a look at what folks had in terms of tokens and what the value approximations were and everything like that, that was actually, this is going to sound crappy, but I don't know a better way to put it. It was too generous. It was more generous than actually was originally intended behind the design. And when Jared and I took another look at the math, we should have been charging 2 for 1 at minimum. So we took this opportunity to do 2 things. One is we did modify the prices, and they're going up. No hiding that. But second is that we're actually making these available at multiple tiers within the store. And this is hopefully another opportunity for players to sync some of their unused tokens. I posted a little while back on Twitter, I think a week or 2 ago, that we did a quick scrub of the database and had like 20 million unused uncommon tokens across the player base. I think that's right if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, you could just use those on upgrades, but people weren't. They were just sitting on tokens. So here's another opportunity to spend some of those tokens, sink them out of the economy so that future Phoenix boxes can maintain more of their perceived long-term value. I don't have the prices in front of me, do you?
I don't, but I can get them. Just
So
a
can
moment.
I.
Well,
Forgot
it's
them on my
then.
work PC. So they'll be available at the 3 lower tiers at different price points.
Okay, hold on. I found it.
So did I.
Okay, well then you're fine. You do it.
So for 100 rare tokens, you can get 1 upgrade. For 20 very
and remember,
rare,
rares are the most common one now. It's a weird one.
Yeah, if you used to have greens, they are now blues/rare. So 100 rares, 20 very rares, or 5 ultra rares to get you 1 Starship upgrade token, which is much closer to the actual. It's actually not. I was just about to say it's much closer to the actual price point that we wanted. No, this is actually overly generous, but we're okay with that because it's part of a special limited time event. So go get them while they're out there.
Admiral, hold on, it's in that blue. Admiral 6 Killer, no, the Phoenix Prize Pack price is not changing. Let's see. Chuck Trek says, so those price points betray the chance of all but epic. Can you describe that in more detail, or you know what he means?
I think he's implying that this is a translation of the odds drop chances that for every 5 ultra rares you should expect to get 20 very rares and stuff. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's purposefully not. Honestly, no, I'm not. I'll stop the statement there. But it's probably pointing in a general trajectory that's roughly, but it's not. And it's not purposefully obfuscating it either. It's just these are price points that we're comfortable with in terms of dollar value translations, which is actually where Jared and I came up with this pricing. Is really all comes down to approximate dollar value translations. This is closer, but it's not. It's off base, and it's not a 1-for-1 between the tiers. One of the reasons that it's even available at rare, which used to be green, again, remember, is that we could afford to price that many, to make it cost that many tokens, because we know how many tokens players are sitting on. Millions, like I said before. So
Yeah.
now you have something else you can spend it on.
Yep.
This is not meant to be. So earlier I said it's closer to the price valuation that we want. It is closer. It's pretty far off still. The main reason we're putting this in here at different price points is honestly to try and sync tokens. As with any numeric currency in any system in the game, the Phoenix Prize Pack tokens are technically a currency, and the more we let sit stagnant in the economy, the worse that economy is for long-term players. The less demand there is for it, the less value there is seen on getting new ones. So periodically, and just like we're trying to encourage Dilithium syncing, we're trying to encourage Phoenix token syncing as well, so that economy can be a little bit more under control.
Trakev, glad you got your answer, but I'm just in case anybody else came in late and missed it when we answered it earlier. Anything moving from MUDs to the Zen Store to the Phoenix Pack will not be available in MUDs anymore. Will only be available in the Phoenix Pack. But if you previously purchased it from MUDs, you can still reclaim it. I know Geekster81 came in because he just asked for the chance to add the Tommy gun to the Phoenix Store. And somebody else came in late and said, "Is there any updates on the Lithium Exchange?" Yes, there's a few. I recommend you watch the video on demand. A couple of people have asked this, and I think it's an interesting question. The exchange on console is not nearly anywhere as close to the crisis mode as it is on PC, although it is sort of trending in that direction. Are we still making these same changes on console?
Yeah. And simply put, it's better that these changes go out on console before they're in trouble, because then they'll act as a preemptive measure, theoretically. But the difference in Dilithium economy and exchange rate and everything over there is the exact reason that we haven't released the Vanity Shield promo over there either. Like the pricing of what we're charging in Dilithium for the Vanity Shields that go up on this promo are based on a conversion of Dilithium to Zen, but also Zen conversion into energy credits via the use of master keys, and that's also an entirely different economic price point on console, hugely different. Which means that I mentioned this kind of offhandedly earlier. We could technically put the same prices that are on PC live on console and just call it good, but frankly, I think that's a little rude, because we would be vastly overcharging them and not doing any justice to their actual economic state of the console platforms. Now, I will say PlayStation and Xbox are approximately the same. They're close enough that if we reprice, we'll probably just use the same prices for both. But yeah, it's a whole different monster. And we have seen their economies growing towards. They're pretty far off in generally speaking to what PC is at, but it's they are growing towards it.
Yeah.
So.
Steggy 2012, we don't have the California class tonight. I figured this was a more important topic than showing off the ship, although I'm very excited about it, and there will be a blog about it tomorrow. And if you saw the GIF on Twitter and Facebook that I put up yesterday, that's very exciting for me too.
The Vanity Shield promo will be live from tomorrow, 5/5 through 5/12, so one week is what it's currently scheduled for.
It's banned. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Ice Queen 142 says, if we already have the Celia ceremonial Lurpa and the Kristock blade, will they be upgradable, or will we have to get them from the pack to be upgradable?
The existing versions you bought off the C Store or Zen Store will also be upgradable.
Cool.
This change was applied to all of them. Also, kind of a fun trivia that this will be the only item you can multi-purchase if you feel like it. And that's because you could multi-purchase the old microtransaction as well if you wanted to. So I decided to keep that in place. So you can buy as many Lurpas as you want if you have the Phoenix tokens for it. And yes, they're all upgradable now.
Faceman, we don't know when these changes are coming to console, but probably late June. It's possible
Yeah.
they'll get pushed out earlier in June with the Stormfall release on console, but maybe not. I'm guessing more later. Let's see. When do we plan on dropping the new Vesta type ship? Soon, but not tomorrow.
Is it? Never mind. I won't answer that.
Okay.
'Cause I might say something I shouldn't. So.
Okay. Cool. Oh yeah. We haven't announced how the Vesta's being released yet. So if you were going to ask something about that, then that was.
No, it was about timing, but it's still just better to not ask live.
Yeah, probably not. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions that aren't requests for new items or systems? Jeremy, I saw a note go by a couple of times about there still being some bugs with the changes to Intel we made a couple of months ago. So
Right.
let me know if you want to take a look at that. I'm sure you saw it go by as well since you obsessively watch chat during these streams, but I wanted to make sure you knew.
So broadly speaking, that's one of the tasks that is kind of is being asked to take a backseat for the time being. Like I said, our next season is basically all hands on deck. Everybody hunkering down to make sure it's going to be as clean and as enjoyable, and everything works and is the highest polish that we can stand. So that includes everybody from content creation all the way down to QA and even you to some extent, I'm sure, Mike. So other pet issues or bugs that are currently live are just being asked to, we'll get to you after we make sure that the season is out and good and people can actually play it and enjoy it and all that.
Folks, I'm so sorry for those of you who have come in late and are asking questions we answered an hour or an hour and a half ago. We probably can't sit here all night as people come in, haven't heard something, and ask a question. So hopefully your fellow players in chat will answer it, or please go watch this video on demand. In the case of the our items being removed from MUDs put in the Phoenix box, we answered that on Twitter and Facebook, so you can also check there. Yes, Mino Dan, Tuesday is the season release. May 10th will be when Stormfall drops on PC. Although the trailer will come out the day before, an exclusive on, I think, comicbook.com. Anyway, you'll see it.
Cool.
Yeah, is there going to be anything?
I did see a question earlier about are there any opportunities for Phoenix stuff to move to MUDs, thus making it from a character unlock into an account unlock. That is a subject that Jared and I talked about, and we were like, let's get this stuff taken care of first. We're really focusing this conversation regarding the Phoenix box on what and how can we get things into it before we start talking about anything having to take stuff out of it or move it or make promos of it or anything like that. Like one thing at a time.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking. Oh, okay. To answer your question, will there be anything for Strange New Worlds premiere? No, because it's apparently tomorrow. And I guess we sort of dropped the ball on that one. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of stuff going on with the new season, so there wasn't time to do anything super special for it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was on purpose at all, but CBS got really secretive about the show, even with us. Like we weren't always getting. Yeah. We got some art assets that are pretty dang cool, like concept art and stuff like that. Yeah. But they weren't telling us anything about story, and so it was really hard to.
They sent Al all the scripts. He has those.
I understand it was pretty late by our usual standards, though.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, I don't think it was anything that they were doing on purpose. It's just how that worked out for us. Yeah. A little too late to change horses mid-stride.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that the saying?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we were doing when Discovery and even Picard first dropped, of being able to be on the ball as the show dropped, is probably not something we're going to focus on doing our own stuff and then release items later, just because it's really hard to do that turnaround for reasons we've talked before. Josh Mars, we did not discuss actual drop rates. We cannot discuss actual drop rates. Please check the VOD to find out when. Why? Let's see.
Real quick, Mega Man Dragon asked me what my favorite ship is. I think my favorite looking ship might be the Nakul science vessel. I'm partial to science vessels. I like throwing around space magic. But I don't think it's the best ship, honestly. I do like how it looks. That sort of like almost aquatic feel to it. And the spinny, noisy engine. But I think my favorite ship to fly might be the crud, I forgot its name. The little disc thing. The thing with the it's like a science defiant with a. It's like a pancake. What is that ship called?
The Lucari one?
No, not the Lucari. I think it starts with an E. Crud. Well, mine's called the Einstein, but I don't remember what the class name is. I built it. Jeez, I feel really bad now. It's not the Lucari. It's a Fed ship, a Fed science ship. Somerville. That's it.
Oh,
it's
Somerville.
Thank you,
Yes, of
Sticky.
course.
Yeah. And that's because it has a lot of the great science shticks, but it's also pretty nimble, and so I've grown fond of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trake 1701. As far as I know, and there nobody has been so far on this season or any recent season asked or forced to crunch or stay late to work on this game. There are some people who have because they don't respect their own personal mental health, but no one's been forced to. Nothing like that is happening at Cryptic, as far as I know. And I think there would be a bit of an uproar amongst our team if it was.
Our leadership is very good and proactive about tending to make sure that we're not being overworked, and that's actually one of the reasons that when topics like the Phoenix box come up, or we do try to make sure that whatever we're going to do, whatever we're going to spend time on doing, it's not going to cause us to have to burn the midnight oil to get these changes done. It's always an open conversation about how many hours do you have in a day? Is this actually something you can accomplish without sacrificing the business needs or anything like that?
Almost every single Leeds stand-up I've been in, Andre, our executive producer, if he ever hears a report of somebody working crazy overtime, always gets upset, not because their work wasn't done, but because whatever we scoped was obviously too much work for that person.
Right.
And he's always beating the drum of, we can do less. So that our people have the right mental health and physical health. So I always
plan ahead to meet your needs, including your personal needs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. All right.
And set expectations that can be met.
Yeah. Somebody's saying put the 10th anniversary pack on a flash sale for Strange New Worlds. It's not a terrible idea, actually. I'll see if Jared wants to do that. But anyway, that's going to be our show for this week. Thank you, folks, so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Jeremy, for this super in-depth dive. I really appreciate it. I know the players really do appreciate it, too, the peek behind the curtain. And I want to once again say thank you, everybody, for how nice everyone's been about this today. There's definitely been some times where we've announced things like this, and people have wanted our heads on a pike. And so seeing the good discussion today made me very happy.
Oh, God. Heads on a pike just made me think of photoshopping us onto Captain Pike.
Oh, no. I was just thinking of, this is a Babylon 5 reference, but somebody in chat will get that. Let's see. Who should I...
Can I answer a quick question? Dan PMK, I think it was your name. Are we taking this opportunity to fix the icons? Funny enough, I just noticed the icon problem today. It was actually brought to my attention by Chris UA. Apparently, all those years ago when we made the first Phoenix box, we hooked up the numbers backwards, and 5 should have been the gold instead of 1. And I don't remember if that was a purposeful choice or what, but there's this little dotted line that's really hard to see unless you zoom into the icon, that around the 5, which is green quality, there's a little gold line. And then around the 1, which is gold quality, there's a little green dotted line. And I just didn't notice until today. So yes, it's on our plate to get fixed, but again, we're focusing on our next season release first. It'll get fixed.
I feel like I should raid this person because they're opening Phoenix boxes, but they're just they're just sitting on the character screen and not talking. So I think they might be on a break.
Oh.
Which is unfortunate because that would have been hilarious. I think I will give one of our more active streamers a little love today.
Yes, Mark your Chief. That's probably why it was assigned. Like Epic equals number 1, like the best. But at the same time, in STO, the higher the number, the better. Right? Mark 15 is better than Mark 12.
The consoles that I'm using here, these can be.
Yeah, there must have just been some age-old miscommunication.
Yep. All right, folks. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for being awesome. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.